Today we're going to conclude our study of Chapter 4 with Lesson 3, Freshwater Ecosystems. There are 4 objectives for today's lesson that you should be able to do by the end of the lesson. You should be able to describe one abiotic factor that affects freshwater ecosystems, describe the 3 zones of a lake, describe 2 wetland ecosystems, and explain how a lake becomes a forest. So we're going to start with talking about stream and river ecosystems. So the water in brooks, streams, and rivers could possibly flow from melting ice or from snow up on the mountain. Or the water can come from the ground from a spring. Each stream of water that joins a larger stream is called a tributary. Okay, you're going to come back and go to Brain Pop and watch the Brain Pop on rivers and then complete the quiz as well. So here we have the picture of either the melting snow coming down from the stream as it branches off into tributaries and then eventually empties out into a delta. And if you'll think back to when we studied Egypt in social studies, there was a very good example of the delta as the Nile River emptied out into the Mediterranean Sea. So again, if there is no mountain snow, this could be coming from an underground spring. Now we're going to deal with different zones in a lake. So when we talked about the ocean, we talked about the different zones there. So the lake is similar in that you have life near the shore and you have life away from the shore. So if it's near the shore, this is the water that's closest to the edge of the lake or a pond, and it's called the littoral zone. Now I think of this as like the word littoral. It is literally close to the shore. So the littoral zone. The plants in the littoral zone are homes to small animals. So here you are near the shore. So this is the littoral zone. And then life away from the shore, you have 2 different zones. The area of the lake or pond that extends from the littoral zone across the top of the water is the open water zone. And beneath the open water zone is the deep water zone. And that, of course, is where no sunlight reaches. So open water receives the sunlight, deep water does not. Now let's deal with wetland ecosystems. So a treeless, meaning no trees, wetland ecosystem where plants such as grasses would grow is called a marsh. And in these marshy areas, you have things such as muskrats, turtles, frogs, and birds that would live there. And then a swamp is a wetland ecosystem in which you have trees and vines. So no trees, a marsh. Trees and vines, a swamp. And in the swamp you have water lilies and other plants that grow in the standing water. And there are a lot of fish, snakes, and birds that also live in swamps. So again, you're going to go to Brain Pop and watch the video on the Everglades and complete that quiz as well. Now, it may have piqued your curiosity at the beginning of the lesson when I said we were going to transform a lake into a forest. Well, how does that happen? Well, over time, you have a buildup of sediments. So the water that's entering a standing body of water, as we know, carries nutrients and sediments. These materials tend to build up on the bottom of the lake or the pond. And then over time, after that just keeps building up and building up and building up, the pond or the lake is filled. It's filled up with all those sediments. Now that there is soil there, plants grow in that new soil, and the pond or the lake then starts becoming a wetland. And then over time, if that keeps building, the wetland then may develop into a forest. So, from a lake to a forest. All right, this is the end of not only lesson 4.3, but also chapter 4. And you will come back and watch the Bill Nye video on lakes and ponds later. You won't watch that today.